Hello everyone, Leah here. In today's video, I want to share with you a sketchbook flip through to show you the journey of what was created and all the things inside of this sketchbook. Now, before I open it up and we get started, I just want to go over what it is, where I got it, and that kind of stuff. So just a heads up, I originally purchased this back in 2022. I had been seeing the Koval brand all over social media, and I absolutely loved the fact that they were a small business, handmade sketchbooks with professional quality, top tier watercolor paper and sketch paper inside. So I decided to treat myself to a fancy sketchbook, and the one that I went with was their Sketchbook Pro. Now they still have these kind of sketchbooks, they just don't have the same cover color as this one. I think I picked Dusty Rose, or yeah, I think this was called Dusty Rose. And I just checked their website this morning and they still offer it. They have several that are out of stock right now, but they still offer this type of sketchbook. I had gone with the B5 size, so that is technically a 6 by 9, like 6.6 by 9.8, so 7 by 10ish. And it has 300 GSM watercolor paper in it by the brand Fabriano, and it has natural white cold press paper. Now this here, I have only one example. I just want to state too that they give you a couple of nice things with the sketchbook. You get a rubber band, a handmade rubber band to keep it secure. I lost mine. Actually, you know what? As I said that, I think I remember where I put it. 1 second. Ta-da! I found it. Okay. First I was searching for it this morning and I could not find it, and now it's like it popped into my brain. Anyway, so it looks like this, and inside you also get a loose sheet, extra piece of paper just like the one inside of your sketchbook, as well as some swatch paper options of the other paper quality and things that you can have your sketchbook made with. This is the only one left over that I could find. Again, I might have used them for something, thrown them out, or they're in a safe space and I can't find it. But I really liked that the only one that I could find is a Fabriano. So I thought we could compare them, because one of the things that I noticed about the natural white when I was first using this is that at that time I was only familiar really with bright white watercolor paper, and it's what I preferred to use at the time. But I thought, hey, natural white would be a nice thing to try. I don't think they had the extra white in stock at the time, and I didn't really think anything of it. But I distinctly remember when I was swatching everything out for the very first time back in 2022, that I found it all so warm, so yellow. It was just so different from what I was used to using, that I was like, oh wow, this is just, I don't know if this is for me. But I played with everything and I put it on my shelf, and I went back to using my Etcher sketchbook. But then fast forward to March 2023, I braved the sketchbook and I used it. So this is the very first painting that I did, and this is the very last painting, and I did that just the other day. So at the time, back in 2023, I was really enjoying using my acrylics and my acrylic gouache in sketchbooks and getting that texture and exploring, creating flowers, and really finding my voice with abstract floral paintings. This one here is I made this with just my Caran d'Ache pan set of gouache paint. That's going to be a whole separate review about the gouache paint itself, but If you aren't familiar with my video that I just posted, I have developed an allergy to acrylic paint. It causes issues with my lungs. So even using an air purifier, having a window open in my studio, I still have problems. So I can't use acrylic paints anymore. So I'm trying to find a way to still have my style, the way I like to approach creating with different materials. But that's going to be a different sketchbook because I'm currently in that journey. So I'll move along. Not everything is in order, I don't think. Well, some of them probably are. But there are going to be a few paintings that are out of order. Most of the time I paint in my sketchbooks just straight through. I just go from one to the next to the next. And this is the next one that I did. When I was creating this one, I was really experimenting with using acrylic gouache for the background and then layering on top with my heavy body acrylics that I absolutely love, which is Charvin, and mixing in my other mixed media materials like my my Neocolor 2s, which are water soluble, colored pencils and things like that. I absolutely loved this painting. I remember painting this, having so much fun, enjoying the process, and just like feeling really loose and having fun. Like, you know, like these aren't exact replicas of the flowers that were in that photo that I was working off of, but they represented that feeling I got. And I remember enjoying this a lot. So next up is a watercolor painting, mixed media. I have, I believe, a tutorial for this one actually up on my channel. I'll link to it if this is the one that I'm thinking of. And then over here, I was just swatching and testing out color palettes that I have. So at the time, I was really into having curated watercolor palettes and then corresponding materials that I could use with it. So this was my autumn color palette and this was my spring. And I remember just doing this, trying to find colors that were my colored pencils that could go with them, that I could use alongside them. And then I was just trying to figure out a way to have a all-round purpose sketchbook, watercolor palette type thing over here. I don't know why I have sketch marks on it. Like sketch marks, check marks. Okay. So over here, I was just practicing doing blind sketching with a pen. And the one thing I have to say is that because this is cold press watercolor paper and it's a pretty toothy watercolor cold press, I did not really enjoy using line work on here just because I remember just feeling it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be. So if you're really into having, you know, smooth lines and like that smooth experience of gliding when you're drawing, I wouldn't recommend a toothy paper for that, or like a hot press or a cold press that's not super toothy. Like, can you see that texture? Like, can you hear it? But yeah, I know this page isn't fancy. It's not considered to be beautiful, but I absolutely loved it because I just really enjoyed the process of blind drawing and finding florals and objects that were in my studio at the time. I had just purchased some flowers. I had, you know, I was enjoying the process. In fact, looking at this reminds me that, like, I remember liking this so much that I should do it again. Like, this should be more part of the process of just taking time, maybe 10-15 minutes out of my day and just draw something random that I see. So here's another full spread where I use acrylic gouache in the background, and then I have my heavy bodies on top. I don't really like the center of these flowers. I remember when I did that. And I remember thinking, oh, that's that. And yeah. Pretty sure based on how this feels, I had mixed the acrylic the acrylic gouache with a clear gesso from Liquitex, which gives it some grit. So that way my background layers, when I'm using my, I don't know if you can really see it here. Oops. When I'm using my colored pencils to just like squiggle and figure out direction and lines, would have better grip to the paper. This is kind of my very first flip through where I go through every page. How am I doing, guys? Do you like it? Should I do more like this? I don't know. So this one here is me just experimenting with watercolor and some white acrylic gouache. So at this time, when I had this sketchbook before, like pretend this page isn't here, I only had acrylic paints, watercolor and acrylic paints and mixed media materials. I did not have traditional gouache at the time. So when I say gouache, just remember that from here on out. I don't really remember this painting, but I do remember the bouquet of flowers. I had gotten it from one of the local florist shops that I go to all the time. And they have themed bouquets, and this one was their muted palette, and oh, their muted palettes are beautiful, like so beautiful. And yeah, that's what I remember, not the painting process itself. And this one too was made from that same flower arrangement. And there, yeah, I painted one on the 25th and then one on the 26th. This definitely has the acrylic gesso that's clear because it has tooth to it. You know, when I look back at these, all I can see is me trying to find my language with acrylics and abstract florals, and I remember enjoying the process. And there's at one point in time when I lose that touch with it, when I start second guessing everything. This sketchbook goes over a time when I start dealing with artist block and I start second guessing all of my choices. And right now, as future Leah, looking back at this, all I can think is, why didn't I continue down this path? You know, like, I have fond memories of creating these paintings. I look at them and I think they're beautiful. And yeah, I mean, whew. Another rendition of the same bouquet of flowers. I was obsessed with that bouquet, just so you guys are clear. Like, I clearly have 3 paintings of them in a row. This might be my favorite though. I don't know, that first one was kind of nice, but this I think is my favorite because of the color in the background. Which one do you think is your favorite? First, second, or third? I definitely think it's this one. All right, so at this point in time, I am struggling with artist block and second guessing all my decisions and trying to do videos on Skillshare and take classes and participate and just learn something new. If I can remember the class that this was, I'll put it on the screen. But I just remember it being something about creating a fantasy room or house, exterior of like a dream fantasy place. Like, what would your dream home look like? And mine was in the middle of the woods, so there's nobody around, and it's covered in beautiful flowers. And I just gave myself like 30 minutes to do it, and this is what I created. Oh, I like this. It's beautiful. I don't remember when I painted it. There's no dates on here, but I like it. It's kind of like an abstract rendition with watercolor to kind of create this. It's kind of like an in-between of these two. Like the way I approached laying just things down for shapes for the leaves and things. And then now I did it here. I really like this. All right, so at this point in time, I thought, you know what? I'm going to experiment more with my watercolors. Clearly, I'm struggling with my acrylics. And I tried to paint daffodils because I absolutely love daffodils. They are one of my favorite flowers. And as you can see, I cannot paint daffodils to save my life. They don't really look like daffodils. Do they look like daffodils to you guys? Because to me, they do not look like daffodils at all. That's okay. Some flowers. I technically do have 2 spots left, I guess. I could technically paint this. That is unfinished. Oh boy. Yikes. Well, by looking at it, I can tell you that I experimented a lot with doing like painting down scrapped sheets, ink, acrylics, colored pencils. That's fine. Okay. I've said this multiple times before on my channel, but sketchbooks don't have to actually be beautiful. Everything you do in them don't have to be perfect. You are allowed to have ugly art. In fact, ugly art is how we grow. It's how we learn. And here's one of my ugly ones. Some palette swatching. Again, so I have, at this point in time, I have my autumn, my spring, my Scottish Isles. I don't know what I called this one. And then I started trying to find other colors that I could do to have, yeah. I should do this again because currently this is what my watercolors look like. Let me show you. My microphone just hanging in the wind. Okay. So this is how my watercolors currently look. I thought if I laid them out open, I would be more motivated to use them because I'd see them and they wouldn't be in a drawer somewhere. That's not the case. I actually, the only palette itself that I've used is this one. And during the summer, this past summer, I just grabbed it because it was easy access. So yeah, looking at this sketchbook is just giving me ideas. Next up is these 2 watercolors. Now this one here, I have a tutorial on my channel as well. I'll link it somewhere. For how to do dahlias in watercolor, in abstract watercolor. I loved the process of creating this and the freedom it gave me. So yes, if you are interested in painting like that style, I have the video for you. Again, I try to do daffodils. And again, I don't like them. So these are just some watercolor exercises that I was doing. At this point in time, I remember struggling so hard with my artist block, thinking maybe if I learn from other artists, I'll try to paint in their style, or I'll try to paint the subjects that they paint. And then I'll be able to be like, yeah, that's not for me, or yes, I really like that process, and I'll find a way to adapt it into my style, into my approach. Looking back, I think these are actually pretty. but I just remember struggling so hard with it. And this is more of that exploration of just trying to learn and experiment. And I have a cherry tree in my house, and I tried to paint it with watercolors. I absolutely love how this looks now. And then this page, I wanted to do like a close-up craziness with it, I think, but it wasn't really working, and I was struggling and I was mad at it. And then I tried to do some line work on top of it, and then I hated that, and I was just like, frack that. Next page. You know, like I was like, I'm done here. Yeah. This is some flower exploration for certain types of flowers that I was doing. Trying to use just my Neo colors. This is from a Skillshare class. I actually really like how this flower looks. Some abstract watercolor. So this was me just showing how you can do abstract on different watercolor surfaces and different watercolor paper types, and how those materials interact and do. This was back from when I did a 5-day watercolor challenge, from learning what watercolor brushes, paints, and different texture creating tools are like and what they can do, and the type of effects you get on different types of watercolor paper. Oops, I just noticed I wasn't fully in frame. Sorry. Not too sure what kind of flowers and berries these were supposed to be, but that's okay. And this is actually the last page. So what's nice about this brand is the fact that this page here that's attached to the board of the sketchbook is the same watercolor paper that's inside the sketchbook. So you can do page to page and just finish it off like that. So every single part of the sketchbook is usable. And that's the journey. I mean, I went from 2022 to heavily using it in 2023 to randomly using it in 2024, and I didn't really date all of it. So I remember this one being 2024. Same with this last one. I did this in the summer, and then I remember going back and just filling in some of the pages. But most of it was done in 2023, and then finishing it yesterday. What I like about working in sketchbooks is that when we do flip throughs as individuals and artists, it lets us reflect and also be able to recall things. Like being able to look back and see how these florals with my acrylics were developing, and how I, as an artist today, absolutely love them and want to recreate that same experience of creating them. I don't know, it's kind of a nice feeling. And I know that there are some like sketchbooks that I'll have, or that I do have, where I'll look back at them and hate everything in there. Like, where does that page go? Like here. I can say they're pretty. I definitely can. But to me, these also associate with a time when I was struggling as an artist. So emotionally, I don't have the same pull to them as I do my abstract acrylic paintings. But yeah, that was this sketchbook. If you have any comments or questions about the materials that I use in here, or if you saw something, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button. If you're interested in using art as a tool towards healing, that's what my channel is all about. And right now I am going to be documenting my experience and this journey that I'm on, from going from using acrylics to using gouache. So if that's something that you're interested in following, hit that subscribe button as well, because I'm going to be sharing that journey with you guys about what it's like to go as a person with chronic health issues that had developed an allergy to something that was my form of communication with art. Like, this sketchbook has a lot of watercolor in it, but acrylic paint is my go-to favorite. It's what I use all the time. So yeah, anyways, if you're interested in following that journey, subscribe wherever the button is. All right, so before I say goodbye, let's just take one moment and take a deep breath in. And let that air out. And as we're doing this, let's do it one more time. Let's focus on some positivity. So let's bring in the positive. And we'll release any negativity. Let's just shake it off. All right. Once again, thank you so much. And until next time, stay magical.